Hi guys, good day. It's me, Teacher MJ. Our topic for today class, it's all about the properties of parallelogram. So without further ado, let's do this topic. So the next part of our video class, given math is a parallelogram, you are told to find the value of the equivalent sides, triangle, angle, and measure class. And we will be explaining this one step by step. We also have problems like this class, finding the x values and the y values. So quite complicated class. Given parallelogram ABCD, you're told to find this one. And many more examples class. I will just put the link on the description down below. Once again class, before answering this type of questions, you need to master the properties of parallelogram. So let's start. Now before we proceed to the properties, let's define first what is a parallelogram. A parallelogram is a quadrilateral with two pairs of parallel sides. So therefore, we can say that this side AB is parallel to side DC. So side AB is parallel to side DC. So the markings, this will be the markings for parallel sides. So side AB is parallel to side DC, or we can write this one, side or line segment AB is parallel to line segment DC. So once again class, we can read this one parallelogram. So this is the symbol parallelogram A, B, C, D. Parallelogram A, B, C, D. And we can also say that side AD is parallel to side BC. So AD is parallel to side BC. So line segment AD is parallel to, this is the symbol class of parallel to line segment BC. So that's the definition class of parallelogram. Alright, so the first property of parallelogram, it says the opposite sides are congruent. So we can say that this side AB is congruent to side DC. Once again class, the word congruent, it means they have the same size and equal in measure. Okay, so this side is congruent to this side. So we can write this one, we can label this one, this side AB is congruent to side DC. Or we can write that one, line segment AB is congruent to line segment DC. Alright, and this side, opposite side class, once again AD is congruent to side BC. So side AD is congruent to side BC. Or we can write this one, AD is congruent to line segment AD is congruent to line segment BC. So that's the first property class. Opposite sides are congruent. Let's give an example class. If side AB is 12 centimeter, what would be the value class of DC? That's correct. It should be 12 centimeter. Why is that, sir? Because opposite sides are congruent. Now, if AD is 10, let's give an example. If AD is 10 centimeter, what would be the value of BC class? That's correct. BC, it should be 10 centimeter because opposite sides are congruent. Easy, right? For the first property. Now, let's go to the second property. Opposite angles are congruent. What do you mean by that? So, opposite angles are congruent. Therefore, this angle A is congruent to angle C. Opposite angles. So, angle A is congruent to angle C. So, we can do the marking. So, angle A is congruent to angle C. Alright, and we can also say that angle D is congruent to angle B. Or angle B is congruent to angle D. So, let's just write angle B. Angle B is congruent to angle D. Alright, so this angle is congruent to this angle. Alright, so let's give an example. So what if we say that angle A is 110 degrees? So what if we say angle A is 110 degrees? What would be the measure of angle C class? If angle A is 110 degrees, therefore angle C must be also 110 degrees. Why is that, sir? Because opposite angles are congruent, same size and same measure. Alright, so if angle B is 70 degrees, what would be the measure of angle D? That's correct, angle D, it should be also 70 degrees. Alright, so that's the second property class. Opposite angles are congruent. Easy, right, for the second property? So let's proceed now to the third property. Now, the third property, it says consecutive angles are supplementary. Now, the word supplementary, class, it means that the sum of two angles, it must be equal to 180 degrees. So, the word consecutive, it means one after another. So, consecutive angles, of course, we know consecutive angles, that would be A and B. These are consecutive angles, one after another. We also have B and C. These are consecutive angles. CD. These are consecutive angles, and DA. So we can say that angle A plus angle B, it should be equal to 180 degrees because consecutive angles are supplementary. Once again, class, the word supplementary, it means the sum of two angles, it must be equal to 180 degrees. So AB, and we also have BC. So angle B plus angle C, that would be 180 degrees, equals to 180 degrees. And we have consecutive angles, angle C and angle D. So angle C plus angle D, it should be equal to 180 degrees. And angle D plus angle A, it should be equal to 180 degrees. So let's give an example, class. What if angle C is equal to 100 degrees? Let's give an example. Angle C, that would be equal to 100 degrees. Alright, so angle C is 100 degrees. 100 degrees. What would be the measure, class, of angle D? That's correct. Angle D, it should be 80 degrees. Why is that, sir? Angle D, it should be 80 degrees because consecutive angles are supplementary. So 100 plus 80, that would be 180 degrees. So 100 degrees plus 80 degrees, that would be 180 degrees. Now, if this is 80, what would be the measure of angle A? Okay, consecutive angles, what would be the measure of angle A? That's correct. Angle A, it should be 100 degrees. Why is that, sir? Because consecutive angles are supplementary. So angle D is 80 degrees. Angle A is 100 degrees. And angle B, what's the measure of angle B, class? If this is 100 degrees, therefore, this should be 80 degrees. Why is that, sir? Because 100 plus 80, that would be 180 degrees. So that's it, class, for the third property. Consecutive angles are supplementary. Easy, right? For the third property. So angle B, that would be 80 degrees. Alright, so let's proceed to the fourth property. Now, the fourth property, it says the diagonals of a parallelogram bisect each other. What do you mean by that one, sir? So, bisect, class, it means that they cut themselves into two equal parts. Let me just explain that one, class, for you to really understand this one. If we have given diagonal AC, of course, this line segment AC, this is what we call diagonal, connecting from point A to point C. This is our first diagonal. So we have line segment AC, first diagonal. We also have line segment BD, our second diagonal. So once again, class, these are what we call diagonals, line segment AC and line segment BD. Now, if we just erase this one, class, this first diagonal AC, alright, and withdraw the diagonal A from point A to C, therefore, we just cut this diagonal BD into two equal parts. That's why it says bisect each other, because we cut this BD into two equal parts. So we can say that line segment AC, okay, line segment AC bisects this line segment BD. What do you mean by that one, sir? This line segment AC will cut this BD into two equal parts if we draw this line. Okay, that's the meaning there, class, bisect each other. They cut themselves into two equal parts. So when you draw a line AC, you just cut this BD into two equal parts. Therefore, we can say that this line, okay, this line, if we put a point here, class, point E, we can say that DE is congruent to BE. So same scenario, class, if we erase this one, okay, if we erase this one, if we erase this line, is this diagonal BD, and we draw another diagonal from point B to D, we just cut this AC into two equal parts. So I hope you understand this one, class, because there are some teachers that they will not explain this one step by step. They just say it that this diagonal, this line is congruent to this line, and this line will be congruent to this line. You need to understand this one, class, that if you have a line AC and we draw another line connecting from point A to point D, you will just cut this AC into two equal parts. That's why it says bisect each other. So let's draw another line from B to D. Of course, if we draw another line from B to D, this is what we call diagonal. We just bisect this line AC. We cut this AC into two equal parts. So we can say that line BD or line segment BD bisect this line AC. We cut this AC into two equal parts. That's the meaning there for bisect, class. Line segment BD bisects line segment AC. So I hope you understand this one, class, for the fourth property. It's very critical, class. You need to understand this one. The diagonals of a parallelogram bisect each other. So if we label this one as our point E, therefore we can say that this line segment DE, alright, is congruent to line segment BE. And we can also say that line segment AE, okay, once again DE, this line is congruent to BE. And this line segment AE, so line segment AE, is congruent to line segment CE. Right? This AE is congruent to line segment CE. So that's the thing there, class. Because they bisect each other, they cut themselves into two equal parts. So this line AE is congruent to this line. This line DE is congruent to this line. Let's give an example, class. What if DE is equals to 8? If DE is 8, okay, if DE is 8, what would be the measure, class, of BE? If DE is 8, what would be the measure of BE? Okay, once again, if DE is 8, what would be the measure of BE? That's correct. It should be always 8. Why is that, sir? Because DE is equivalent to BE. Now, if AE is 7, okay, if AE is 7, what would be the measure of CE? That's correct. CE must be also 7. So, because this line is congruent to this line. Alright, so that's the thing there, class, about the fourth property, the diagonals of a parallelogram bisect each other. I hope you understand this one, class, for the fourth property. Alright, so let's move on to the fifth property, the last property, class. Now, we're down to the last property. It says, each diagonal of a parallelogram separates it into two congruent triangles. Of course, we have given parallelogram ABCD. Now, if we separate each diagonal, class, we create two congruent triangles. So, if we separate line segment BD, so we have first diagonal and we also have line segment AC, second diagonal. So, if we separate each diagonal, class, we create two congruent triangles. So, this triangle is congruent to this one. Okay, so this triangle is congruent to this one. That's the thing there, class, about the fifth property. Now, if you read this one, class, always be careful in reading the triangles. So, if we have BAD, if we read this one, triangle BAD is congruent to triangle. Always be careful, class, in reading. It should be symmetrical. Of course, we know that this is opposite sides are congruent. So, this side is congruent to this side. And this side is congruent to this side, right? When you read this one, we have BAD from first marking going to the second marking. BAD. So you read this one DCB from first marking to second marking. DCB. So always be careful, class, in reading the two triangles. It should be symmetrical. So we read this one triangle. This side is opposite to this side. This side is opposite to this side. We read this one from B going to first marking to the second marking. So DCB. It should be triangle DCB. Alright, and this triangle is congruent to this triangle. So if we read this one, triangle ABC, so triangle ABC, once again, this side is congruent to this side, and this side is congruent to this side. First property, class. Opposite sides are congruent. So we read this one A, B, C. Therefore, we should read this one A, B, C. It should be C, D, B. First marking to second marking. It should be first marking to second marking. So it should be congruent to triangle ABC is congruent to triangle CDA. CDA. Alright, so that's it, class. That's how you read the triangle, class. It should be symmetrical, class. There should be a pattern. Always remember that one, class. Be careful in reading the triangles. It should be symmetrical. So that's it, class, for the properties of parallelogram. So I hope you learned something new today. Once again, the next part of our video will be dealing with solving problems involving parallelogram. So once again, class, I hope you learned something new today. If you like this video, do not forget to like, share, and subscribe. You share it to your friends and to your classmates so that we can help more students. Once again, class, this is Teacher MJ. You have a great day, class. Goodbye for now. Bye-bye.